But to go.
So go.
Done. Two, three.
Test.
Nice. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. If you're new here, please feel free to like and subscribe. But there's plenty of football news to talk about this week. There's been a lot happening in Scottish football, and there's a lot. There's many places that we could begin, but to me, the only place to start is the Champions League. Celtic are playing in the Champions League tonight against Lazio at home. The atmosphere is always amazing. I'll be going to the game. Really looking forward to it. And I think as we're going to preview this game, we should probably talk about how the two teams are playing, in the game beforehand. So the weekend there, we obviously did a preview talking about Motherwell Celtic, and that game was a bit dramatic to say the least.
Absolutely, mate.
Now, when we did the prediction video, I just wanted to say I want to claim for everybody that I said 2-1. That was the first thing I thought when it got that goal. I was like, yes, man, no way.
He did. I don't even remember what I said. But I say 3-1?
3-1.
Right, so
mate, it was close. But I did say it was going to be a tight game. I didn't think it was going to be that tight, but it was never in doubt, April.
Well, I don't know if I'd quite say that, but I mean, Celtic have got a history of scoring these types of last-minute goals. We've done it there before under Rodgers as well in his previous tenure. So, this is the thing about this football club, isn't it? This is why this is one of the many reasons why I love Celtic, is that we love this type of drama. But I didn't think we played particularly well. I thought we toiled a wee bit. We looked in control, and we definitely dominated the ball, and we've seen the majority of the possession, which I was happy to see, considering that Motherwell are probably, not on paper, like not in the league standings, but in essence, probably the third best team, or one of the, they're in that sort of pack of people that are clubs that are just behind sort of Celtic and Rangers, or just behind Rangers. So I was happy to dominate, was happy with the way the game ended, but Motherwell had some chances. The boy that scored had an almost identical chance that Joe Hart sort of saved with Scott Bain. I was actually thinking, I was watching the game on Saturday, they look so alike. Like they've got similar colour of hair, both got receding hairlines, but Scott Bain.
Imagine it was Joe Hart just under Bain's name.
I know, mate. I just put his tap on. I thought Scott Bain, I think last week I had said he doesn't fill me with confidence. I thought he had a good game, pulled off a couple of good saves. He made the SPFL Team of the Week. No complaints with that there. But he pulled off a good save with his feet. Middle of the second half, with an almost identical sort of move on the outside of Scales, the same guy, kind of getting behind. It was just that his shot wasn't as good. But again, like I said, happy with the result. Okay performance, but like they showed across the other side of the city, it's about getting 3 points sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that Palmer's meant? Do you think that's a shot or a cross? Because I'm in two minds.
I've got to be honest, right? I think he meant that. I think he meant that purely because he stops the ball dead, and it just doesn't look like a cross, really, from the way that he strikes the ball. I mean, and also there's actual proof of him doing it before. He's done it at his former clubs as well, so he's actually done that exact same technique before. Of course, he could have just been the ball in the box. There's a good chance that was the case. All I'm saying is that when I watched it back, I'm thinking I think he actually does mean to aim for that far corner. Like, it doesn't look as if when you see the pace that's on the ball, it looks more like a shot than a cross.
I think the way that he shaped his, so when I watched it live, I thought he's putting that just into that area at the back post. It could be like a sort of hit and hope, like just like a fire it in there. It might sneak in. Somebody might jump in at the back post. Excuse me. But see, as I've watched it again, the way that he shapes his body, I think I'm with you. I think he's trying. I think he's trying to sort of curl it into the back post. And if that's the case, it is an absolutely beautiful goal. I was really impressed with how he played. And obviously, Matt O'Reilly was just, it was just absolutely like mental at the end. But what a game he played. He signed a new contract. That got announced on Saturday morning. Then the guy pops up with a 97th minute winner. Does it get any better? It's like fairy tale stuff, isn't it?
Oh, it was absolutely amazing, mate. And Palma made such a great difference when he came on, the energy that he brought to the game. And you can see that he's going to be a player for us, man. Because even just before that goal he scores, he puts a cross right on James Ford's head. Do you know what I mean? Right, pinpoint. And he looked like somebody that I'm going, okay, maybe this guy could be on something. But watching the overall game, to be honest, I felt like we kind of just were, everything was a bit too casual from us. We just seemed like we were struggling to get out of second gear. Like we were in control of the game. It almost felt as if we were surprised at the level of control that we had in the game. And we were like, if we pass this side to side, eventually we'll just score. But I think what Ange showed us last season is that it doesn't just happen like that. You need to actually penetrate the defence. You need to play forward passes, make forward runs. That's what we did really well against Livingston. And I think against Motherwell, there seemed to be this idea of, oh, this is a bit too easy for us, for a bit there. And it just seemed like we were, our touches were off, or, like every kind of pass, final ball just had that little bit off it. And it just seemed as if we were kind of playing the second gear. But I think it's a sign of a really good team that when it mattered the most, we stepped up and won the game.
Yeah.
Because that's what, honestly, this is what I was saying at the time. This is what you watch football for. That is what you watch football for.
Exactly, mate. That's it. This is, and again, like Celtic have got a habit of this. This is why I think there is this sort of fairy tale element about the club, is because we do have this knack for just popping up with these like ridiculously dramatic. I was watching yesterday, and we're going to get onto the Lazio game. I was watching the highlights of the both Lazio games for 2019. Both, Christopher Julien scores an 87th minute winner, and we know about Oliver and Charmin Rome, and then popped up the UEFA Champions League sort of memories thing that TNT Sport are doing, and it was Celtic v AC Milan. I could rhyme you off 10 in the last 5 to 10 years that have been mental important in one way or another, where we've just popped up in the sort of last sort of minutes. I think I don't know if I can actually talk up Matt O'Reilly enough right now. Like, the guy, other than Callum McGregor, I don't want to see that guy out of that midfield. He's been so good under Rodgers. He's took his game to the next level. I was actually thinking, seeing his contract negotiations, and they were saying that it took him in line with the top paid players at Celtic, and I was actually sort of reminiscing on, like, what was this guy signed? What was the narrative around this guy when he signed? And it was like, he came for League One. He's young. It was almost like that sort of like, all right, okay, we've signed a guy for £200,000 for the lower leagues in England, and you're kind of like, right, a development player. But in 18 months, I mean, I think the guy's caviar, personally. I think he's an amazing player. We may struggle to keep a hold of him, but I'm so happy to see that he signed a new deal.
Absolutely, mate. And right from the start as well, it wasn't like there was any bedding in period. He was thrown right into the deep end for us, and he delivered. I remember one of his first games was that home game, at 3-0 game, when it was him and Attack in midfield, and you thought, wow, we could really be onto something with these two. And he's going to be an international for Denmark as well. You can tell that it's going that way for him. So he's a top class football player. And I think Celtic have done really well in tying down all these long term deals. Because you've seen, I mean, taking Rangers for example, you've just seen how contracts can just start running out, and then you're in a situation where you're like, you need to sell them or they go for free. So I think to get Hatate and O'Reilly both tied down long term is huge for Celtic. To have two players that are nowhere near the prime yet, and we could potentially see some of that before they go. So it's great stuff. And like you're saying about O'Reilly, we said last week on the podcast that how much he's added goals to his game. And I think that, I used the comparison of Tim and Ryan to Ryan Christie, what Rodgers did for Ryan Christie. I think when Rodgers came in, he moulded Ryan Christie into a goal-scoring midfield player. And he's doing the same with O'Reilly, except I think O'Reilly's a better player than Ryan Christie. And, by a significant distance, I'm just saying that I think what I've seen him do with Ryan Christie, he's doing with an even better player, which is only something that's going to benefit Celtic. But we need to talk about the actual goal itself, right? Because I know it was chaotic and it was amazing, but the actual goal is sensational, man. What a goal that is. Because there's a lot of things that people aren't talking about. For me, Phillips' pass to Taylor is really good.
Yeah.
Because it's like a direct pass forward.
Yeah, and I think that, see, when I watched the highlights back again, you're caught up in the emotion. It was actually quite funny what happened to me on Saturday, because I was watching the game live. I got up to go to the toilet. We went 1-0 up. I sort of held it for the toilet. I was like, all right, okay. But it was sort of 87th minute. I thought, right, we've won 1-0. So I started doing a wee bit of housework, keeping an eye on the game. I went into another room, came back through. It was one each. And then I went through to the kitchen and just seen the goal as I came back through it. So, like, I missed all 3 goals. It was, like, ridiculous, because I just thought the game was done. I started to, like, get on with my day a wee bit. But when I watched the highlights, and I watched the game back in its entirety as well, we were talking up Liam Scales for sure. But when we were talking earlier, when you were saying about the sort of side-to-side passing, I think that was missing before we made the substitutions. The centre-back, pushing up to the edge of the D and the opposition pass and finding a forward pass, either out wide or through the press, like the first sort of layer of the press. I thought Motherwell played really well, actually. I think they held it together really, really well. They defended really, really well. They stopped us playing as well, which has got to come into it, But like you said, that pass out to Taylor, it was so direct. I was expecting a sideways ball just because of the way that we were playing, that the guy just went direct. The ball in for Taylor is beautiful. I mean, it's that sort of flighted, like, you can, as a defender, you can only just watch it go over your head. You're like, where's that going to land? And Matt O'Reilly's 2 feet off the ground. I don't think enough has been said about. I think the drama of the goal and the way that it was so late in the game and everything's all been like, wow. But see, when you think about the guy's 2 feet off the ground, he's mid-air, he's got the composure to cushion it, and it goes into the roof of the net. Mate, I think it's a contender for goal of the season, and I don't think that that's a wild sort of take on it.
It absolutely is not, man. It's top. It's really top quality. I think if you see a midfielder do that in the Premier League, everyone's raving about it.
Well, look at Di Canio. Look at that Di Canio goal. The only thing that's missing between the Di Canio goal and Matt O'Reilly's on Saturday is a sort of flick of the feet to do like a wee scissor, a bit of flash. But the goal is almost the same. He watches it all the way. And in fact, Matt O'Reilly comes from behind the defence. Di Canio's get like a sort of chance to watch that ball come over and chance to set himself for that volley. Like, one of the best goals of all time, right? And I'm not saying that it's a better goal, but just the difference in it. And like you said, if somebody scored that in the Premier League, we'd be talking about it all week. He comes from behind the defence, he jumps mid-air, and he's got the composure at that minute of the game. Would you blame Matt O'Reilly for blasting that out of the bar or putting it by the post? No, absolutely not. I just thought, I mean, again, as you watch it over and over again, you're just like, wow, like what a goal this is. So, I hope it's going to be up there for. I was watching Celtic's YouTube channel, Goal of the Month, Kyogo's goal against Rangers, and I was like, it's going to be. And then the last goal's Matt O'Reilly's against Motherwell, and I'm like, well, maybe not. I don't think, you know what I mean?
Exactly. To do it first time, and when you know it's the last minute of the game as well, like there's so much about it where you go, that's a top player right there. You know, like that takes. It's not just about ability; it's about the composure, everything like you say, just to get that in the net.
The mentality,
exactly.
As Brendan Rodgers would say.
he's a beautiful human being. Is that what he says? Is that what he goes? Was that impressionist?
Mentality. I mean, every week I'm getting more and more on the Brendan train. So
he's sucking us back in, man.
I know. Let's talk about tonight's game. Like
yes.
we'll talk about Rangers and Michael Beale. We'll see how much time we've got because we've got about 25 minutes left on the stream. Let's talk about tonight's game. For me, I think this is an important game for Celtic as far as all of the talk about trying to make progress in Europe, trying to make an impact in the Champions League. Lazio at Celtic Park in years gone by would be a game that I would be like, wow, you know, like we're in for a tough game. The way that we're playing, the way that the composure that we're showing, the sort of dominance on the ball, I think we should be getting into tonight with a lot of belief. Looking at Lazio, they've only won one in the last 4 or 5 games. They've not got off to the greatest of starts. I think tonight's a real opportunity for this team to go out and lay down a marker. And I really hope that we don't go out and let the occasion get to us, because this will be the first Champions League game for a lot of these players. But again, I think tonight's a real opportunity. We should be getting into it with a lot of belief, and I think that we can win, you know?
For sure, mate. I think that, like you say, it's a big occasion. I think you want the atmosphere to affect them, not us. And it's a situation where, you know, we have shown a lot of composure. Rodgers has been here before. When he came in, the thing that he was harping on about more and more was wanting to make an impact in Europe. He knows for himself as a manager that to get the recognition that he wants, he needs to make a mark in this. And the home games are you need to, you know, you're looking at Athletic. You know, I think that we did well against Feyenoord. We can take confidence from the game against Feyenoord. And then you look at the group as a whole, you go, Atletico Madrid's going to be tough. So this is a game where if we're going to get anything in this group that's not bottom of the group, we need to win. And that's the reality of the situation. Tonight is a must-win game for us. And I think that there's no reason why we can't. They're a team that are on the ropes for you, but they're not in the greatest form. I think as well, when we talk about a 97th minute winner, what that does is it gives the players a buzz. You know, they're coming out of that just buzzing with the result and buzzing with how it all went. And I think that can only be a good thing going into this game tonight. And, you know, you get the likes of Hatate and all that. They're always talking about wanting to go to the next level. They're all talking about they're kind of all hitting towards wanting to leave Celtic and go to that next step. But if you want to go to that next step, you need to do something in Europe. Like, nobody's coming in for a tatty if we get gubbed tonight. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is where these players, if they want to go further than Celtic, they need to show that they can do it for Celtic.
Well, this is it, isn't it? Like, I think back to guys like Scott McDonald, for instance. You signed that guy from Motherwell. I think at the time, some Celtic supporters a bit like, oh, you know, blah, blah, blah. But that guy proved himself. Like, there was a point in time where it was between him and Kenny Miller to be the starting striker, and Jan Vennegoor Hesseling. I think we maybe even played a 2 up front at that time. But he came in as like a sort of squad player, but he proved himself on that stage. And the confidence that guy got in that stage, you know, like he took into like playing as Celtic's main striker for the best part of like 3 seasons. So I'm right with you. Like, I'm really wanting to see guys like Alistair Johnston, Matt O'Reilly, Rio Hatate, and Kyogo to turn up tonight. We really like, these are the games, right? So they talk about what's the difference between domestic football and European football, specifically with the Scottish teams, is that the game gets faster. You need to be sharper. You don't get as much time on the ball. So we need that sort of, they big players, these guys, to turn up and to actually like show us that they can perform on this level. The centre half pairing need that sort of leadership and support. I think we're probably looking at, I mean, I don't know. Who do you think is going to start?
Well, I thought it was interesting that you brought Phillips on the weekend, and I felt like the only reason why you would do that when it was still level is because of this game.
Get some minutes in his legs for tonight.
I think he wants to play Phillips.
Right.
That's the sense I get. And for me, I reckon it will be Phillips and Scales.
Right.
I'm kind of happy either way, but I think that one thing that you just mentioned there that's really important is the idea that, having a bit of experience at the back. This guy was playing for Liverpool against the likes of Haaland and that. Obviously, he wasn't in there all the time, but he did play against those guys, at a top level. So he knows a bit more about it than your likes of Bielka. Do you know what I mean? And he may have a bit more composure to play the ball fast, play the ball forward, and be brave enough to show that composure on the ball, to play the braver passes. You know what I mean? Because when the crowd's going mental and you're a centre half that's never experienced this before, maybe you try to pass it side to side. And you've seen that with Phillips when he created that goal against Motherwell. So I think that the only reason why he was brought on was because of like what you pointed out about that lack of composure at the back to play the ball forward, but also to get minutes in his legs. So I'd be surprised if he didn't start the game. And I would probably agree with that, because I think that Bielka looks like a good player, but he could do with a bit of protection, because you know as well as I do that if he plays tonight and has a clanger, it doesn't help his career here, at all.
You're leaving a young up-and-coming player. Well, it's hard to say into it. I was going to say you're leaving them vulnerable, but also, I think back to John Kennedy, Stephen McManus, like young guys that have come through at Celtic where we've got an injury, we need them. We're like, we're going to the new camp with Davy Marshall and John Kennedy. And that's when, like, again, what we're saying, that's the stage where these guys actually prove that they've got the mentality to play for Celtic. Like, Lager Bielka, I would like to see on the bench tonight, and it's not because he's not good enough, or I think I'd be quite content and keeping an eye on it if it was Scales and Lager Bielka, but I would like to prefer to see the starting pairing that you had mentioned. I think Cameron Carter-Vickers is maybe just a wee bit too off it. I wouldn't like to see him getting thrown back in. I know he's back in full training, but I wouldn't like to see him getting thrown back in a Champions League night. So I'm with you. I think we'll probably go with Hart, Taylor, Johnston, Davis, Scales, McGregor, Hatate, O'Reilly, and then the front three.
That's
again, this is where it gets interesting again. I think we'll definitely be seeing Dyson Maeda, and I think we'll definitely be seeing Kyogo.
Yeah, those two sentences.
But who's going to play on that other side?
Do you know what's funny, mate? Is a wee while back we said a week is a long time in football, and if you remember, not too long ago we were saying, I don't know why he started Parma in that bloody Champions League game, man. He was well off it and all this, and that can still be true. But I think for a guy to come on and be as clinical as he was, the goal, if he means it, was sensational. Even if he doesn't mean it, it went in the back of the net, mate. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? But also, it was the first cross in 87 minutes of a football game. It was the first cross that we done that found a man in James Forrest. So I'm kind of like, as much as I disagreed with how early he threw him in the first game, I think to not start him now after that performance would be ludicrous, really. It would be crazy.
So if we're going to start with Palmer, then it's going to be Maeda on the right.
But then I this might be a bit of a controversial take, right? But see, Maeda in the Champions League, I'm not expecting him to take a guy on and beat him, and show some dazzling skill. He's getting played for his work off the ball and his runs. He can do that either side. You know what I mean? Like, he's not getting played to be the difference maker. He's getting played for his work ethic.
Yeah.
So we need somebody at the far, and then I think if you play Yang, you're kind of got two wingers in the same sort of thing. So
yeah, I think Yang didn't really set the grass on fire on Saturday either, did he?
No.
He looked a wee bit sort of out of sorts, a wee bit a yard off it. So, I mean, let's wait and see what this starting lineup announced. It gets really interesting in that front three. It's a funny one to say that I'd be happy with any of them. Obviously, I'd prefer a fully fit Leila Bada on the right-hand side, Maida on the left, and Kyogo through the middle, but we just don't have that. So, it'd be interesting to see. What I like about these Champions League games for me personally is that as much as this is where we're wanting Celtic to go and prove themselves, it's also a bit of a win-win because we're not expected to do much either at this level. So I don't know, I'm more excited than I'm sort of nervy for this game tonight. And as we're talking about the starting lineup, I'm getting a wee bit excited for it. So
same here, especially when I know I'm going to the game. It is very exciting, and I think you're absolutely right. I think that it's a case of nobody's really expecting us to do anything, especially see the likes of Carter Vickers out, and I would never have thought in a million years that we'd be talking about Champions League first game at home with Liam Scales starting in half. I would never have thought that at the start of the season. So it's just these things were unexpected, but I think that we've shown enough to show that we can make a difference. When we talk about that front three and these players, like you say, I wouldn't be overly annoyed or frustrated at any choice that he makes. But what I would say is, from the feeling I get from Palma is, we talk about players that are going to enjoy this atmosphere. I just get this feeling that this guy's off his nut and he's going to love it. So he could potentially rise to the occasion, and that's why I would throw him in. But whereas Yang is a young guy that's came a whole different culture, and to throw him into an atmosphere that is one of the crazy. I mean, you watch football games and you realise that we're Celtic fans, right? So we can't really be that objective about it. But at the end of the day, it's just one of the craziest atmospheres you're going to ever hear in a game, and it's players all around the world have said that. So I think for me, it's going to be interesting to see how the players rise to that. But I'm buzzing, mate. I'm buzzing. And should we talk about what we think the score will be?
Yes, let's make a couple of predictions. I mean, I'm happy to go first. I'm going to say 2-1 Celtic. I think we can definitely mirror the score that we did the last time against them. Hopefully with a few less heart-stopping moments for the goalkeeper. But I think we can, 1-0, 2-1, like a single goal, edge Lazio. If we do that, I'll be happy. Any sort of positive result, I'll be content.
Mate, well, obviously, I'm sitting here with the want for a Celtic win. We want Celtic to win the game, and this is going to be I said I'm a mad prediction, right? But I just get the feeling that tonight is going to be mad. I don't know. So I've got this gut feeling that we're in for a crazy game with a lot of ups and downs. And if I'm going to think along those lines, if I'm going to say a Celtic win, I'm going to go 3-2.
Right, that's interesting because Thomas McMahon has commented on the stream saying that he thinks Celtic are going to win 4-3. So a very similar sentiment, just with a couple extra goals in there.
There we go.
If Celtic win 4-3, I don't know if my heart could take that, but
this will be the last stream you see from me if we win 4-3 because my heart will give it halfway through. So honestly, it's great to feel that excitement, and I really do hope the players can just rise to it and go for it, man.
Yeah.
Because a win would just be unbelievable.
Absolutely. Well, we wrap up talking about Rangers and what's been going on. We've got about 10-15 minutes left.
Well, we can't not touch on it. It's been pretty big news in the world of Scottish football.
Yeah.
We talked on the fact that it was under pressure, and Michael Beale has been sacked by Rangers. I'm sure we both have a lot of thoughts on this. There's so many places you can start, but for me, it's just, I understand that there was problems with the performances. I understand that there was a lack of a style of play, and I think that pre-season they were kind of thinking along the lines of, well, people were starting to say he's signing all these tall guys, he's signing all these tall players. Is it just going to be a case of lump the ball into the box type of thing? And then I think most football, most Celtic, Rangers and Celtic fans would say, well, no, there must be more to it than that. There'll be more to it than that, obviously. But then when you watch them play, that was the plan. That was the whole game plan, was get the ball out wide to the fullbacks and cross it into these big tall guys. And you can't win football games like that anymore. Like, it's such an old way of thinking. It worked for, Gerrard tried a similar sort of thing. It took him 3 years for it to work, like we said before. But he's playing with the same fullbacks that are further on. And I just think that I know there was maybe the tactics and the style of play wasn't so what you would call fluent or clear right now. But I just think that, you're 7 games at a season and the guy signed what, 10 new players. You've got rid of a whole host of players that have been there for years. Like, I don't see a situation, because I think where Beale's been unlucky as well is what happened with Ange, and Rangers fans thinking that could happen with Beale. And I'm just looking at it and going, man, you sign all these players for this guy, a new experienced manager, and you give him 7 games. Like, I just can't help but think that's crazy, man. Like,
well, I think, look, he had more than 7 games. Like,
I know, of course.
I think that the guys. There's been a couple of things that I think have really contributed to this. The guy's mouth wrote so much, he's the way that he spoke and the things that he said put so much pressure on him, because this season I'm talking about, because last season it was all about, this isn't my squad, this isn't my team, I've inherited this team. And then he also was reassuring the Rangers fans that, I think there's a quote where he's like, I'm going and I'm looking these guys in the eye and making sure that they've got the thing about them that means that they can play for this club. When he first came in, he was talking about, the players will be wearing suits, and it's just, honestly, like, there was nothing, no substance to it whatsoever. It was just total bullshit for him. That was all he did, was that he get in front of the media and he just flapped his gums about this and that. Dessers is going to take us to the next level. Lammers is going to take us to the next level. Wait till you see this guy. Wait till you see that guy. And then they got in front of the Rangers support and they did nothing. So if that was me, I'm like, this guy does not know what he's talking about. Like, he's went out, stripped out players that like goal contributions in the sort of 20s or 30s for the front three, to replace them with guys that, are like stumbling balls into the back of the net, missing open goals. Like, Lammers try to go by people, can't go by people. So I think that it's not just the results. I think the manner of which the results are happening, but also the way that the guy spoke, he basically put himself under pressure. Judge me on my team when I get my team. Well, you've been judged and it's not good. Like you said, no style of play, no improvement, new signings not doing what he said that they were going to do. And I think that actually they've done the right thing getting rid of him, because he was completely and utterly out his depth. And I think he proved that many times over. So I'm like, I don't think it's a crazy decision for them to sack him. I think that they've probably done the right thing. I think the writing was on the wall. It's going to be very hard. They were hoping to get to a League Cup final and win a trophy, and I think it's the league. They want to win the league. That's the most important thing. And they've lost 3 of their opening 5 games, or how many games we've played? It's 5. How many? Is it 7 games we've played in the league? So he's lost 3. He's opening 7 games. A Celtic or Rangers manager just can't survive that.
I think that withstanding everything that I just said at the start of that conversation, I want to say that I completely agree with everything you just said there, mate. And the reason why I said what I said at the start was kind of to play devil's advocate a wee bit about it. but I would say that everything you said there is spot on because he was a guy that was out of depth. He wasn't ready for the magnitude of the Rangers job and the pressure that was going to come with that. And he was just talking himself into trouble every week.
Yeah.
You're like, mate, just shut up.
I think the actual ludicrous thing that happened was appointing him.
Appointing him, do you know what as well, right? Like, there's a couple of things that keep happening here in the media and that people are talking about. So there's something that I find really interesting. This guy, he got the Rangers job because you know how, so they were all saying that he was the mastermind behind Gerrard's team. Beale played into that. He didn't deny that. He never said Gerrard was the main man. Like, he continuously played into that. And when the supporters were believing his hype, he let them believe it. He was like, yeah, I was the main man. Basically, he was basically trying to say everything that Gerrard done, that was me. That was all me.
Well, he definitely wasn't humble.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I mean, he's coming to the games and all that. With Gio was the manager still.
I think, like, if we talk about the man, right? So if we go, you know, the footballing side of it and the media side of it, I think that the man that sits behind it is not a nice guy for me. He doesn't come across as being, like, again, so humility, you know, relatability, and, you know, like that sort of like what his actual personality. It was very arrogant, very arrogant.
He believed his own hype, mate.
He very much did, and there is a big difference between being a coach and being a manager. Like, if you're a coach, you can focus solely on the field, right? You know, like, you've got, how many people were above him? At least McAllister and Gerrard. So 2 people above before you're having to deal with things like the boardroom, player politics. Maybe he did manage the players, or you know, we don't know what went on. But like you say, I mean, I think what we can say for a fact now is that he's no football mastermind.
No.
The other thing that I would like to go back to as well is that Gerrard's team didn't really mastermind anything. We forget that in 2018 and the 2018-2019 season, the 2019-2020, which ended up getting cut short because of the pandemic, they crumbled after Christmas. There's this sort of like, maybe they could have come back in 2019. I don't, in the sort of tail end of the 2019-2020.
They lost at home to Hamilton, mate. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about Hamilton.
There was no mastermind in Gerrard's like backroom
stuff.
stuff.
The mastermind for Gerrard was COVID, man.
Well, I think it was a combination of things. They had beat us, you know, like they were beating us on the park as far as like 1-1 Celtic v Rangers, but they still weren't getting the results away. But like you said, it's this media hype. It's like this, you know, you've got Kenny Miller on Clyde's Super Scoreboard, even up until the weekend. You know, we need to give them time and they need to bed in, and it's all this sort of like cheerleading, cheerleading Rangers. You know, and like that sort of like top to bottom arrogance, like we were talking about it last week. It creates a toxic atmosphere. It creates an expectation that is too big for people. Unrealistic expectations. And we went back to it last week and we spoke about it last week. Under Ange, it was like a sort of weird paradox happened. The Celtic support went, we're not winning anything this season, and we ended up winning a double because there was very little pressure. And that meant that gave him the breathing space to actually implement what he wanted, the mentality into the players. And you can be like, ignore everything else that's going on and just focus on the single thing. But Beale's played too much into the hype, too much into the media circus, and hasn't got enough right on the field. And he's paid for it.
But very true. They got completely dismantled by Aberdeen. Fair play to Barry Robson. He completely he had a mastermind game plan for that. He knew how to get the crowds on the backs. Everything they did worked, and they deserved the 3 points convincingly. So I think that when he lost that game, I texted you. I was like, "He's gone, man. He's got to be gone. He's going to be like." You knew as soon as they lost that 3-1, he was like, "There's no way he's surviving this, man." Especially when you see the highlights of those players' deaths and that, they just look terrible. Like these individual players they've got, they just look awful. And I think that, you know, see for me, like Gio and that. Gio looked like he seemed like a good guy to me. I didn't mind hearing him speak. See Michael Beale, everything about him irritated me, man. Everything about him as a person just irritated me. So I'm kind of happy to see him going, to be honest. And I think a lot of Rangers fans are too. But I know we're running out of time here, but briefly, now that he's gone, there's been a few rumours about who's coming in. The main one that I'm hearing, and I think looks like it could be the I think will be the one that they go for, is Frank Lampard. And I just think that's hilarious, right? Because you're going for another name.
Yeah.
And I just think they need to get a manager in that has experience and has a style of play. Yes, the guy managed Chelsea, he's done good things in his career, fair play to him. But I just think you need to get away from this idea of getting a guy in that has some sort of, stature in the game or can hype you up and whatever, and get somebody in that actually has a style. I would be, as a Celtic fan, I would be much more concerned if they got a guy like, how do you pronounce his name? Muscat?
Kevin Muscat.
I'd be much more concerned with a guy like him than a guy like Frank Lampard, because Kevin Muscat has a style of play. Do you know what I mean? He has an identified style of play that's proven to work, that's shown success. Or, managers that have an identity to come in, and because this is what this Rangers team lacks. They're lacking any sort of identity of how they want to play football. So you're bringing in a guy like Frank Lampard that clearly has shown that he doesn't have a style of play either.
Yeah. Well, think about what every top manager says, right? And even Ange said this. The important thing is the performance. If you get your performance levels right, the results will follow. A team like Rangers, a club like Rangers, are doing it the opposite way about. They're basically going, we need to win. That was kind of Lennon's mentality. That's like that sort of old school. You hear about that now, you're like, that's dead. Like, just go and win. Just go and win. We need to win. That's it. We don't care. And it's like, that's gone. That is completely gone. Almost like it's now about, like you said, if a coach comes out and wants to talk about style of play, identity, performance levels, then you need to implement that. So there's so much pressure. I think that the toxicity around the need to beat Celtic, who are light years financially ahead of them because of the way that we've managed their club, and this sort of like staunch, like the quintessential British club, like this sort of like that is their identity, and I don't think it works for them anymore. I don't think it really. There was a guy I listened to Clyde Super Scoreboard on Monday, and there was a guy saying we're going through what. So first of all, he says Rangers have historically been the number one team in Scotland. That's not true. This is the fallacy. You've had 10 years in the 90s. I'll give you, like, okay, yeah, but that's what killed your club. And the problem is that you are harking back to that and you are wanting that again, but you can't afford that. So this guy was like, we are going through what Celtic went through in the 90s. Difference being, we are managing our team. We have got a surplus of cash. So we're not going to fold like Rangers did in the 2000s or, have to cheat to compete with Rangers in the 2000s. That's what they had to do with us in the 2000s. But he said, we are waiting on our Martin O'Neill to come along. And I was sort of like, you're skipping Tommy Burns and Wim Janssen though. And Joe Venglos, who were like steps in that right direction. And of course, like we made a mistake with John Barnes, and Venglos wasn't a successful manager in winning the league, but he brought in Mialbi, he brought in Moravcik, who get laughed at in the media. So there's going to be like transitional periods to get to that Martin O'Neill figure. And I also don't believe that a club like Rangers can attract a Martin O'Neill now in 2023. So that sort of idea and that game plan for me is not going to work if that's what they're hoping to get to. So
I couldn't have said it any better, honestly, mate. Like, I think you're spot on with everything there. It's a change of mentality that's needed, because when Celtic were able to take those steps and make that progress, it was because, whether you like it or not, there was a humility about Celtic support and acceptance about the fact that we were second best. Do you know what I mean? And we worked towards getting back to the top. And
we'll finish on this, right? Tommy Burns, you won't remember this, right? But I remember this. Tommy Burns' second season in charge of Celtic. That Celtic team got a standing ovation for finishing second in the league. right?
Yeah.
They didn't. They only get beat once in the full season. They ran a very, Rangers won 8 in a row. They had Gascoigne, they had Laudrup, they had McCoist. They ran a very good Rangers team, very, very close. And Celtic Park, last game of the season, they get a standing ovation. I don't imagine Rangers support at Ibrox doing that, no matter what. Even if they do run as close, we only win the league by 3 points, 4 points, 5 points. I don't see them giving their squad a standing ovation for that because they need to win. And I think that's where the toxicity comes in.
And the problem is, those kind of points you just said are all spot on, and I completely agree. But they'll get dismissed because we're Celtic fans and we're biased and this and that. But at the end of the day, that is reality. And see that the longer they don't address the reality, the more success Celtic are going to have. So, if you want to bury your head in the sand of it, that's fine by me. And I think that, it's one of those things where we'll see what it goes. Wherever they go, it's going to be interesting. And and if they get Frank Lampard, it will be box office and it will be good for the channel. So I can't complain. But listen, I really enjoyed doing this live stream. We were a wee bit delayed in what we were initially trying to do, but it was good to do one of these and get it going live and to show that to show you all how much I don't edit things. See, this was flawless. I'm not even like Cy Ferry needs to take notes. I'm not even getting any notes in front of me. Look at this. I know what I'm doing. I know, you can't see the table, but I swear to God, there's no notes in front of me right now. It's all just right here. You know what I mean? So anyway, I really appreciate everyone tuning in, and I'm really looking forward to going to Celtic Park tonight. It's going to be a great atmosphere. Hope we can see, honestly, if we can get a goal, I'll love it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. We're going to be doing more going forward. Got another podcast coming this week with myself talking about another series important issue to me. So you'll find out more about that in the coming days, and we'll be doing more football content as the weeks go on. So keep following, keep enjoying. Please do like and subscribe the video if you have enjoyed it, and I'll speak again soon.